Alright, let's get this going. Boop. Oh, another anime review show. Second one up on the series for Erased. Erased episodes 4 to 6. Already got my timestamps, so here we go. Okie dokie, so right off the get-go, definitely gonna say, because I think some people haven't watched it and stuff like that, this is heavy spoiler stuff, people. Heavy spoiler stuff. Like, we're talking about the show, we're talking about only these 3 episodes, do not... If some people got a little too excited for it or anything like that, you know, don't bring up the spoilers. I've seen it a few times. Let people enjoy whatever they got. Okie dokie? Okie dokie, yeah. Wrecked, if you don't want to be here, it's all good. No worries, dude. It's a good anime, but, yeah, seriously. It's, very it's a good series, dude. It's a good series. Do not want to, get too much into it and everything like that. But, I digress. Right into it. Okie dokie. Erased episodes. Episode 4. The episode where Satoru dreads is here. Death Day, as he fights to keep Kaio safe and making sure to, invite, her out and spend the entire B-Day together, loved with his friends and everything as well. You know, just going out of his way in the childhood timeline to make sure that everything's going up and, you know, gonna go swimmingly, and the original timeline in the present isn't going to continue. Absolutely love the episode. Wrap up always is a film reel as Satoru recalls first timeline memories. Satoru's mother, Sachiko, still being her scary prerogative, figuring out that Satoru is up to and everything like that, saying, it's like you got a girlfriend and everything like that. But I digress. And then, like I've said before on the previous stream review and everything like that, for those who have probably watched it and stuff like that, feel free to chime in or anything like that for things that you've liked during these episodes. It does help out quite a bit, and so on and so forth. But I digress. Let's get right back into it. Okay, running joke that Satoru keeps saying exactly what he's thinking, and that being a huge punchline in the show. Satoru is still pinning down the timeline to keep Kaio safe till Child Services can save her from her mother's abuse, thus keeping up the timeline of the show. Of the original 3 murders with the murderer still at large. And then, of course, as Satoru keeps going back to Kaio's house, back and forth and whatnot, him realizing as a kid, even though he's right and everything like that, he's still viewed as a child and not taken seriously, you know, even though he has the age and experience of an adult, you know, going back through his revival. Little things of thinking aloud runs in the family, as Satoru's mom also does it as well. But we never really notice because, you know, we always hear Satoru's internal dialogue, so that's always a piece of it. And then finally in this episode, in episode 4, we finally figured out that Sachiko, you know, Satoru's mom, worked in TV news as a reporter, so that's why she's so cognizant and figuring out the killer's motives, as well as figuring out what her son's up to, which is a nice little callback for all the other information stuff she's figured out, like in the original timeline, her figuring out who the killer was in the series that's kidnapping and killing all these kids and, you know, getting away with it for decades on end, which is, you know, a thing that happens on the other episodes that we find out that it's all linked together. And then the side note is funny that Satoru counts his B-Day in the past towards his real age, because as we know in time, the series starts off that he's 28, and he even counts his birthday in the past as his birthday, so he's 29, which actually kind of made me laugh, which is really kind of funny and kind of on the nose of the show itself. And then Satoru's involvement with more eyes on Kaio spares her from more physical abuse at home, which is fantastic. And then this is the episode that Deja Vu comes into play, making Satoru worry if he's making the same mistakes trying to save Kaio, as in the science museum and stuff like that, him realizing that they actually did meet there that exact same day, but he is making slight ripples in the timeline to make sure that she doesn't die as well as the other victims in the past. Okay, though rarely showing it, Satoru has been taking steps to make sure Hiromi is safe as well, the third victim and also his best friend, which is kind of funny because some people make jokes that it's like, oh, you mean the girl? It's like, you mean the boy that looks like a girl in the show? But yeah, he's making sure that he's walking home with him as well and stuff like that and keeping an eye out. But he's trying to keep Kaio safe overall because she's the very first victim. Which is kind of like a nice little nod of making sure that his mother doesn't die in the present time. Who he's suspected of killing. Okay, still sweet that without trying, Satoru is still the same person as he was as a kid, same kind of nice, gentle person. And even though he knows all this stuff in the future, that he's still making the same decisions as he did as a kid. The massive tone change from pure bliss to despair as Satoru realizes he failed when knowing Kaio is not at school after their B-Day, even though the murder date on the original timeline was supposed to be the day before their birthday, and how he figured that she wasn't going to be kidnapped or murdered. Sadly, it still happened, but he did change the timeline a bit. Okay, and then a lot of that was for the sub, since a lot of you know that I actually watch both the sub and the dub for both for all the viewers. In case you want to watch it either way, the dub doesn't mention Satoru's mother's work background right away, only as a reporter instead of like specifying it was in TV, which can be kind of confusing. And then in the dub, with the one part with he's talking to his other classmate, he actually uses future slang and says, dang, I really should have wrote it in my notes. What did he say? Get up and grill or something like that? Or he used slang that technically wasn't invented yet, and she's like, what the hell are you even talking about? And he's like, oh shit, like, I gotta really stay careful about that and whatnot. And then, what was really funny is, when Kaio comes into class the one day, the dub Satoru says, damn, you're pretty, instead of just you're pretty, which, in my opinion, was way the hell funnier, because it was just more of a moment that it slipped that he was, an older person as a kid. Okay, but I digress. Other than that, let's go right into Episode 5. Episode 5 is Satoru realizes he failed, and Kaio has been killed, as well as the second victim has been taken when he shifts back to present day, and being sent back to present day, yeah, because of the shock of Kaio being taken, that his revival kicks in, he goes back to present day, and, him seeing tiny ripples and everything like that, but overall, just kind of going through the motions of, kind of despairing over the fact that he couldn't save his friend once again. And then this is the realize, as you were in the pizza place that Satoru works at as part-time, and, being a manga artist, a nod that the killer is the same person in present day, kind of showing slight hints to, we won't go into the name, I wrote it down at the moment, that's more in episode 6, but there's little tidbits and hints that the same killer that's going off in present day is, the one in past as well. And of course, finding out in in the past day and everything like that, and why Satoru didn't remember in present day was all the parents decided to basically lie and cover up for the kids that there was serial abductions and murders happening. And of course, the kids start making up rumors because they keep using the same excuse of saying that, the kid went off, they went away, they ran away and they went to their grandmother's and they're going to be living there because they had abuse. And of course, a few kids, the smarter ones, put together that it's like, well, they're using the same excuse. It's like, it's definitely wrong, and it is like Khemia stating that, even though he, is actually a kid. And then 6 days after the second victim is revealed, Nakakashi from a different school entirely, which gives us a little bit more information that it's not just happening in the very immediate area, but overall in the entire town. And then Easy Link, it's the same case, since the adults are using the same story, ran away to live with grandparents, like I said before. Adults purposely covered up the news that the serial kidnapping. I already stated that. But hey, notes are always good. It keeps me on track. Even though I gotta restate myself a few times on some parts of this, it ends up working out, you know? Okay, let's keep it going. So, 10 days after Kaio is gone, her mom throws out all of her things, including what was Satoru's B-Day gift, and that's what triggers his revival. That it's so jarring that he's like, I can't believe this has happened. I can't believe, even with my future knowledge, that I can't still save her, and he's sent back to the present. Now that we have 2 counts of Satoru coming back to the present, it's safe to say that revival triggers on extreme stress, at least this massive jump. And again, revival is Satoru's special ability where if immediate danger is going to happen, he usually gets sent back about 3 to 6 seconds to prevent any life-ending situation around him. But with the storyline of Erased, he went back... God, what was it? Wow, I can't even remember exactly how many years it is. 15 years? Something like that? 18 years. 17, 18, yeah. Something like that, because he did just turn 11. He is 28, so... Yeah. And then, news spreads fast that Satoru thinks that his past... his part-time job... tries to catch him with the police. Glad he didn't blame his manager, seeing as it was from his point of view that, of course, he's a good guy. Of course he would try to capture me, even though I'm innocent. That the killer's actually trying to pin everything on him, as in murdering his mom, but it was really the killer because she found out that in present day that he was trying to abduct a kid, and she put 2 and 2 together and pieced together that he's the killer from the past and the present, and, you know, she knows him personally. And then Avery clearly points out from turning off your phone, GPS, because she is a smart girl, and she is awesome, and she is a gift from God, which is hilarious. And then Avery's natural exposition of the serial kidnapping and murders, revealing time did change and everything like that, that even in the magazines of the past, that it was a day after, and he actually has the cold case information about it, which is super crazy for just good story writing in this, and quite impressive in my opinion. You know, it just, like, I can't praise the show enough for its writing and its, like, involved exposition, just barely enough to the point where they reveal things, but it's very natural. It's pretty stinking awesome. Like, I can't give the show enough praise. Okay, but I digress. If you're paying attention, it's revealed that the man in the pizza place is the same one due to Satoru passing him in the outside of his apartment in the very, first episode for Revival, with the same suit and button, but he has no hat, and he has a high-up job with city planning to help put a stop sign in the location of the pizza place, and you can kind of tell it's him too because, like I said, same suit. He also has a government button on his lapel, well, not lapel, the fold of his jacket, actually. Lapel would be sleeve. I digress. It's just the fold of his jacket. It's the exact same pin, so you know it's the same person. And then, I gotta give props to Avery, like, just being, like, a fantastic character in this damn show, because, and just character in general, because right when she finds out that her manager was lying to her, saying, oh, take care of Satoru, well, I'll help too, we won't turn him into the police, that he follows her home, trying to catch Satoru, and she straight up just catches him on the fly, grabs a hold of him, punches him right in the nose, makes him bleed, like, straight up almost knocks him out, and she's like, really, you lied? Like, she just, she gets it done. She's awesome. Just an extremely cool character. Doesn't matter on gender, doesn't matter on anything. She's just awesome. Okie dokie. Enough fangirling for that. Let's get right back into it. What are you watching? Aku, this is the Anime 101 review show for Erased. And I think I still have the shot for that. I could bring it up right now. Doop. Boop. Erased. 12 episode run anime that came out, 2016? Pretty damn good. And yeah, we're talking about episodes 4 to 6 right now. We do this every 2 weeks. And this will also be up on YouTube and my Discord. But other than that, I digress. Let's get right back into it. Okie dokie. Extremely believable backstory why Airi wants to believe Satoru is innocent, because she saw the same destroy her dad and family when her mom didn't believe her dad stole a candy bar, a chocolate bar, from a convenience store in their town. And the owner, like, everyone knew each other in this very small town, and they even said, like, oh, if you just admit that you tried to steal it, we'll just let it go. And he's like, I didn't do it. And it ended up, like, destroying his life, but I think what hurt most was just that his wife even didn't believe him. That they got a divorce and he just left their family. And Airi always thought, like I was with, Dad, and he didn't do it. And just seeing it, how not trusting someone when they deserved it. I love the Akko, though. I actually kind of enjoyed Erased. Yeah, nice. Thank you, Aku. Thank you. It's funny that Aku, Aku, Akko. Yeah, I'm using this as a template right now before my artist finishes, like, an anime template of myself, basically. Whatever works. It's one of those things and stuff like that, but I figured Akko has a lot of character personality. I love Gynex, aka Trigger, so using my little Witch Academia kind of ties into it. But let's get right back into it. Okay, super realistic fire, backtrap opening to door, and of course this is a super PSA for this. Yeah, the whole, if ever you're in a house fire, seriously, like, no joke, they always tell you, and this is very, very true, this is just the rule of thumb for fires. If you're in a house fire, feel the door first, and look underneath as well. If there's smoke pluming out and the door is hot, or the handle, do not open it, because you're gonna give the fire fresh new oxygen as you open the door to basically create an explosion. And that's what happens. It forces back Airi and almost, like, straight up kills her right on the spot. Like, yeah, that is a PSA. Like, that is straight up a PSA for from Claymorn. Like, no joke. Like, hopefully remember that, because it's a real thing. I want people to be safe. Okie dokie. And then some information about the dub version of this episode. In the dub, they tend to give a better analysis for clues like the footprints, aka the man that took Kaio basically and then put her back in the shed. Basically, he sprayed her with water since it was freezing conditions to super increase her dying of frost, basically. As well as there's no need to worry about mouth flap, which is since it's all an internal dialect. And I actually put a note for mouth flap. A lot of people don't know this. This is a really, really weird thing with the anime industry, and it's like, I don't know if this is going to continue. More people might notice it, but they'll never know what it's called or anything like that. So, in Japanese dubbing for mouth flap, whenever someone officially licenses a show or anything like that, the original animators usually, like, this is a Japanese thing and a lot of things in general, but they don't want them changing any of the animation whatsoever, or even changing anything with their original concept of the artwork or anything like that. So usually most of the time, if some words don't work out when you're dubbing and stuff like that, and you want to switch up some of the words, but at the same time you have to keep the mouth flap, because they don't even want you editing the mouth flap of the characters and stuff like that. They want you to do it to the least degree imaginable. That sometimes, like, we joke about it in some animes, that the lip sync doesn't match up entirely, and it's usually not their fault. It's usually the original studio saying, we don't want you to edit anything like that. Even if it makes more sense and you needed to add a few more scenes to this so you could have more dialogue to make sense, we don't want you doing it. Now, when a character usually goes into thought in an anime, they'll usually throw more exposition in English dubbing, because they can get away with it right there and just be like, okay, let's get this information out right here, and then, just hammer through it. But it's a nice little note to know for if you watch anime in the future and stuff like that for sub versus dub. Like, there's little weird nuances when you go to dub an already existing piece that sometimes you got to give, the animators and the people bringing it over to the States or anywhere else kind of a little bit more credit than their that they really do deserve. Okay, let's get right back to it. And then dub changed that Satoru's mom was solely responsible for the idea to let the kid not let the kids know in the neighborhood for finding out about the serial killer and stuff like that, and having the news report it only when they were at school, basically, or at night, so so on and so forth. And then dub changes and states second victim was taken earlier than original timeline, and little details like Airi living with uncle though wanting to live alone and aborting compared in the sub. Yeah, there's also cultural things that don't really make sense in some animes as well. Like in Japan, it's very, like, even for like middle and not really middle school, but more so high school, to just if you're making enough money to just let your kid go live in their very own apartment or anything like that, or live at school to get their schooling done, and just sending them money. Not so much like in the States or anywhere else where literally that's only like a college thing, or if it is a boarding school, a high school thing. But in Japan, it's very very more of a well-known fact or cultural thing to just let their kid, like, say, hey, you want to go to this nicer high school and stuff like that, or this nicer middle school, we'll let you live in this apartment, here's money every single month, and you take care of yourself. And basically, like, it's weird little things, weird little cultural differences that sometimes, like, you got to give the dub some respect for trying to kind of ease people when they're not aware of it. Okay, so last episode 6, is the killer tries to kill Airi with the information that she's learned and everything like that, and because he realized he saw her face, his face and everything like that. In the aftermath, along with Satoru meeting with his mom's work colleague, which he actually saw in the previous episode, but now in present day, and sadly Satoru gets caught by the cops in this in present day. But there's a little bit of hope, because from information that we learned earlier before, the same noise and the same blue butterfly effect, that right when it happens, revival kicks in, so he's getting sent back to the past to have another shot. Okay, so right off the get-go, love that even on death's door, Airi still believes it's Satoru and slips him her phone so he won't get framed for house burning, giving him more clues, because the killer actually took Satoru's mother's phone, and then using the phone told Airi, hey, stay at the house or anything like that, while he straight up, tries to burn the house down with her in it. Love the ties tying together things like Sachiko's call to her former colleague and learning exact details on Kaio's death and how it happened, aka that the killer took her out of the shed that she liked to hide in after she got beat, and so on and so forth, and his kind of method of how he killed her. And then we finally learn that the killer has been doing this for a while, and make sure that they have a fall guy to get away scot-free each and every time. And this is dead concrete rules to this, which is just like, wow, like, we're finally getting concrete evidence and stuff like that it's like, this is the same killer in the past. It was always alluded, but now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty of the show, that it's like, okay, this is the same person. This is why Satoru's revival ability sent him back so far in the past, because it's been happening for so damn long that it needs to stop. And then still loving the logic and problem solving of the show, of course, realistic jumps in logic and memory, that it's like, oh, I know this thing, that this thing's actually happening, and because of this information that this happened like this, that I know that this killer is the same person overall, because why would he kill her, and why would he take out her if this person didn't die in the past and they're now a loose end. Just, it's little structural storyline things that make this show one of my favorites of all time, that I need to go out and buy it, but it's like, it's an uphill battle to buy some of these anime when they're not as famous as, your mainstream anime. Sad enough, or something didn't like super hit off on the the cultural spectrum, kind of like more mainstream things like Dragon Ball Super, or Your Name, stuff like that, stuff that makes splashes in animation or film. Just, it's getting better, but yeah, I digress. And one thing that I really liked in the show that popped up right here, and I'm definitely throwing it over to this, is right when they're Satoru's hiding underneath the bridge, that someone tagged "nothing is impossible is nothing," which is just a nice little touch of just like, keep going, keep the hope, you could do this, you are literally like throwing everything that you can to solve this problem. It's just, it's a nice little nod that it's like, keep going, you can do it. Okay, and then we got a name for the killer, Nishizono, and it's not on the list of suspects that that Sachiko's, Satoru's mother, her colleague had, that he had compiled, since he figured that, these weren't they were cold cases, not confirmed facts, since a lot of these people that the killer had were pretty much already sentenced to death row. And then we get insight on why Satoru became a manga artist, as almost a coping device for his grief and the events around him, like the story he tried to publish with the Grim Reaper making a mistake about killing a kid before his time, and then him constantly making mistakes trying to change the future. And then I like how Irie even stops him and says, like, it's like, no. It's like he needs to believe more in himself and stuff like that. And he doesn't have to fight alone and stop blaming himself for others' choices when they just want to help. And then just to rub salt in the wound, right, because Irie got followed by the cops underneath the bridge, the killer is at the scene when Satoru is arrested. But from what we know, like I said earlier, from previous knowledge about revival, that it just triggered because we see the telltale signs, the sound of it, as well as the blue butterflies, which is just about poetic justice, because it would mean that the killer was responsible for basically his own downfall of sending Satoru back, when he pretty much was just scot-free of like, I did it, I got away with it, here's my patsy right here, and so on and so forth. And then note, oh, that's right, we won't worry about, for those actually watching 3 episodes every single week, we aren't going to worry about the technical next episode because it's a wrap-up episode. It's still labeled as episode 7 after the wrap-up episode, but you don't have to worry about that because we're doing a wrap-up right here. Like, it makes no sense. Like, why watch a wrap-up episode when it's like we're already doing wrap-ups to begin with, talking about the anime? Like, it adds nothing to the thing. It's literally just a very precise timeline of this is supposed to happen, this is supposed to happen, this is what Satoru changed, this is what didn't change, this is what he's learned, this is how he views this person's innocent, so on and so forth. But other than that, that is the second episode of the anime review show. Let me write down the timestamp for that. And I'm actually doing a little bit better. Wow, that was actually a half an hour shorter than the other one. That's kind of nice. Not as much information to go through. But I digress. Yeah, that was exactly like 30 minutes instead of an hour like the very first one. Makes sense though, the very first 3 episodes, they're dense. Yeah, I watched it just so I could remember what was in the first 6 episodes. Yeah, if you guys need to do that, feel free, because it's a lot of information to absorb in the show, and the timeline is very concise. Like, we're talking like, okay, this is supposed to have been like this. At like 3 o'clock, it's like we saw the last character do this and stuff like that, and it's like, and then they charged, so and so with the murder because he was here and this was here. Like I said, it's a murder mystery, and it's just a fantastic show. And then for any of those who are still here, sadly, spoiler and everything like that, hopefully this is a good starting point. If you want to go back and watch it, there wasn't too many spoilers or anything like that, but it's a very short anime. It's only 12 episodes. It's super fantastic, one of the best ever made, and I am saving all the episodes of the review shows that if you want to go back and watch them again, they are on my Discord as well as the YouTube, and I have all of that linked in Twitch as well as my Discord and my YouTube, and ways to watch it subbed or dubbed. I've taken out all the wiggle room, but other than that, I think we're good. I think I'm going to call it right there. I'm not even going to worry about gaming or anything like that, so we're going to stop there. And this episode will be on my YouTube tomorrow, nice and edited and shrunken down without the gameplay from earlier. Other than that, take care, farewell, and another 2 weeks again, same Friday, same time, and stuff like that. We'll talk about the next 3 episodes, which is episode 7 to 9, and then after that, 9 to the finishing of the show, 9 to 12, you know. You get it. You've done it enough. Other than that, take care, farewell, and see everyone off. See ya all.